In 1982, this man was the richest American on the Forbes list. Worth more than Howard Hughes ever was. More than David Rockefeller. More than the DuPonts. He owned the largest fleet of oil tankers in human history. Controlled a port, 2 coal mines, an entire bank, and 4 million acres of Brazilian jungle. He hated the camera. He never gave a single press interview. He paid his executives in cash to avoid IRS scrutiny. And by the time he died 10 years later, his name was gone from public memory. His name was Daniel Keith Ludwig. And the story of how he made his money and how he set fire to half of it in the Amazon rainforest is one of the strangest empire-building tales in American history. This is The Forgotten Tycoons. Daniel Ludwig was born in 1897 in South Haven, Michigan, a town of about 2,000 people on the eastern shore of Lake Michigan. His father sold real estate. The family was respectable but not wealthy. At age 9, Ludwig used $25 of his own savings to buy a sunken sailboat. He raised it, rebuilt it, and sold it for a profit. By his own account, this was the moment he decided what he was going to be. By age 15, he had dropped out of school and moved with his father to Port Arthur, Texas, where the oil boom was just gathering force. By 19, he was running ship chartering operations. By 23, he owned his first vessel. In 1925, he walked into the chemical bank in New York City and proposed something nobody had ever done before. He needed money to buy an oil tanker. He had no collateral, he had no track record. But he had a contract, a long-term lease signed by a major oil company, guaranteeing that they would pay him a fixed amount every month to haul their oil. Ludwig walked into Chemical Bank and said, "Give me the money for the tanker, and the oil company will assign their lease payments directly to you, the bank, until the loan is repaid." The bankers had never heard of this. There was no model for it. It worked. They lent him the money. That single financial structure, borrowing against future contracted cash flows from a creditworthy counterparty, is now called non-recourse financing, or in modern shorthand, project finance. Daniel Ludwig invented it. He didn't patent it. He didn't write a book about it. He just used it. By 1950, Ludwig owned more deadweight tonnage of oil tankers than any individual or company in the world. By 1970, his fleet was larger than the navies of most countries. He commissioned the world's first true supertanker, ships so large that no American port could receive them. He had to build a custom port, so he did. His business model was the same as the one he had invented in 1925, multiplied 1,000 times. He would sign a long-term charter with an oil major. He would take that contract to a bank, and the bank would lend him 80 or 90% of the cost of building a new ship. Ludwig's headquarters were at 433 California Street in San Francisco, and at 1345 Avenue of the Americas in Manhattan. Neither building had any indication anywhere that Daniel Ludwig was on the premises. His company was called National Bulk Carriers. There was no logo, there was no corporate communications team, there was no investor relations. The company was wholly owned by Ludwig personally. He hated the press, he refused interviews. The few photographs that exist of him show a tall, gaunt man with thinning hair and an expression of permanent suspicion. In 1967, Ludwig bought a piece of land in northern Brazil, where the Jari River meets the Amazon. The tract was approximately 4 million acres. His plan was breathtaking in its ambition. He was going to clear-cut the jungle, replant the land with a fast-growing Asian tree species, harvest the trees on a 15-year cycle, and turn the wood into pulp at an on-site mill. In 1978, he had the pulp mill itself constructed in Japan. The mill was the size of a 35-story building. It weighed 30,000 tons. A Ludwig-owned tugboat fleet towed the entire pulp mill, intact, across the Pacific Ocean, around the southern tip of Africa, across the Atlantic, and up the Amazon River. The voyage took 3 months. The Gemelina trees did not grow as predicted. The soil at Jari was thin and acidic. Ludwig's agronomists had assumed otherwise. The trees grew slowly, many died. The pulp yield was a fraction of what had been projected. By the early 1980s, Ludwig was personally pouring his own money into Jari, at a rate of approximately $1 million per week to keep it operating. In 1981, he sold the entire Jari project to a consortium of Brazilian banks for less than half of what he had invested. His personal loss, approximately $800 million. That is approximately $2.5 billion in today's money. Daniel Ludwig died in 1992, at age 95. In his Manhattan apartment. He left no children. His only marriage had ended decades earlier. He had no close friends in public life. What he had instead was a trust. The Daniel K. Ludwig Foundation was the receptacle for what was left of his fortune. An estimated $1.4 billion in 1992 dollars. Even after the Jari catastrophe, the foundation existed for one single purpose: cancer research. The Ludwig Institute for Cancer Research opened branches in 8 countries. It has produced or funded multiple breakthroughs in immunotherapy. Its scientists have won Nobel Prizes. Daniel Ludwig is, today, one of the most consequential cancer philanthropists in history. And almost nobody has heard of him. There are 3 things in this story that the conventional billionaire biography would polish and round off, and that I want to leave sharp. The first is the financial mechanism. Ludwig invented a way to build vast capital assets using almost none of his own money. The most powerful financial structures are usually not new ideas. They are old ideas applied to new contracts. The second is hubris. Ludwig was 80 when he committed to the Jari project. He was already richer than he could spend. He had no heirs, he had no commercial reason. He did it because, at 80, after 50 years of quiet, ruthlessly invisible empire building, he wanted something visible. The things you want at 20 are not the things you want at 80. The third is the choice of memory. Ludwig could have made himself famous at any moment of his life. He chose to stay invisible, and then he chose to put his fortune into cancer research anonymously. Visibility is not the same as legacy. Ludwig is forgotten in the public memory, but the cancer research labs he funded have probably saved more lives than any single executive of his era. That is the story of Daniel K. Ludwig, the richest American nobody remembers. If this story is the kind of thing you want more of, this channel is making one of these every Tuesday and every Friday. Forgotten Empires, Real Research. Subscribe or don't, I'll be here either way.